I do now want to turn to a potential vice presidential pick. Karoline, I'll start with you. Is there anyone on that short list that you can tell us about? I know the former vice president, rather, Mike Pence, said he wasn't endorsing President Trump.
I don't have any specific names to add to those that President Trump himself have already floated. I will say that the president has reiterated that the number one quality in a vice president for him is someone who can lead this country to further greatness for another 8 years after he has completed his term for 4 years. And so that's a decision solely for him to make. I'm sure it will be a great one on behalf of the American people when he does make it. And that's where it stands right now.
And Julie, do you have any specific names that you would want when looking for a potential vice presidential pick?
I am going to leave that to President Trump. The Republican women are going to stay focused on getting him elected. And whenever he chooses his nominee, we will also work to get that person elected. It's his choice, not confidence in him.
Before I let you both go, and I really do appreciate the conversation today, a lot of voters feel disenfranchised by a 2020 sequel. The majority of Americans aren't thrilled about this rematch, according to a Harris x Forbes poll. So how do you get Republicans excited to get to the polls come November?
Well, I would say that the Republicans are going to be excited to get to the polls just because of the condition the country's in. They remember what it was like under a Trump presidency. They know what it's like now. That's going to be all it takes to get the excitement on the Republican side.
And I would just add that I wholly reject the premise that voters are not excited about President Trump's candidacy. We've actually never seen more enthusiasm and fire on this Republican side of the aisle. That's why President Trump had historic blowout wins in every state in the primary from Iowa to South Carolina, while Joe Biden is losing his base. He does not have a base anymore. The voters that he has long relied on throughout his very lengthy political career are leaving him because they realize their lives are not better off under his presidency. Also, more than 70% of Americans realize that Joe Biden does not have the mental stamina, the physical or cognitive ability to lead this country for another 4 years. They don't feel that way about President Trump because he's strong, he's fit, and he's ready to lead. And that's why you see so much enthusiasm behind him.
I agree.
To your point about mental acuity, for a Harris x Forbes poll found 67% expressed doubts on Biden's mental fitness and 51% for Trump's. What do you say to that majority that also expressed doubts on former President Trump's mental fitness?
I work with President Trump every single day. As a young person, it's hard to keep up with him. He is constantly working around the clock. It was that way in his White House. It continues to be that way on the campaign trail today. If you look at Joe Biden, sadly for our country, you see a deteriorating man. And it's not so much about age as it is about competency. Joe Biden clearly lacks the mental competency to lead this country. He stumbles and fumbles over his own words. He trips up the stairs of Air Force One. He constantly, sadly, for our country, embarrasses us on the world stage whenever he's meeting with foreign leaders. And that's part of the reason our adversaries around the globe are taking advantage of us. President Trump is fit, he's strong, he's ready to lead. Joe Biden, clearly, to anyone with eyes and a little bit of common sense, is not ready for the job.
Julie, do you have anything to add? I do want to add one thing. As we've seen, because mental acuity, mental fitness has been a big theme in this this election, and former President Trump has made his share of gaffes on the campaign trail. He mixed up Nancy Pelosi and Nikki Haley amongst other world leaders. What do you make of those gaffes?
Just that gaffes. I mean, it's like me calling my children by every name but their name when I'm in a hurry. They're just gaffes. But to Karoline's point, the American people can see. We've seen a real lowering of the standard of what we expect out of the office of the president, the United States president. We feel like if he can stay in one place during a State of the Union, then that's what we call good. That has been a real lowering of the standard. But one thing that I want to be very clear about, while we see a president who struggles with his mental acuity, his administration have all of their mental faculties, and they have a plan. And their plan is to remake America, not rebuild America, but remake America. And they are not using the blueprints of our founding fathers. So while we may see a weak president standing at the podium, it is very much an administration that's in full control, and someone is making the decisions. Not sure who that is, but those decisions are not in the best interest of the economy, the border, and our parents and the United States of America.